exactly. I think that's the number one question that we all get asked is like, how do you keep up with all the latest AI developments? The answer is it's almost impossible. The industry's moving so fast that you could be a day out, you could be a week out, and there's already a new model or a new innovation. So excited for the team to share some of those answers for your questions as well. Lisa, I don't know if you want to kick off with the first question. We can go from
Yeah,
there.
let's get right into it. So our first question here is for Sri. If we have a SharePoint site configured as a data source with Gen AI in a Copilot Studio agent, it can retrieve information from SharePoint.aspx pages, but from which specific web parts can it extract information? Hero, text, all of them, ... question mark. So over to you, Sri, for an answer to that one.
Yeah, I would say all of the content does get ingested, and I'm specifically talking about the custom agents. If the question is about M365 Copilot, then our first few 150 MB of the elements is what we ingest. So depending on which agent you're using, the experience will vary. So just full disclosure on that one.
All right. Thank you for that. Jack,
So
would you
we'll
like
skip
to
the
pick up the next one?
Yeah, have we got Arthi here? Just making sure that she's in the lobby.
I just
If
had
not,
to add
we'll-
her. I just had to
Okay,
add her,
so we'll
Jack.
skip to the third question for now. So back to you, Shri. So a question regarding Azure AI Search as a knowledge source in Copilot Studio. They'd like to know, is there a way to customize the citations that are generated by the response? Currently, your Copilot or agent can provide a vector reference as a citation, but it'd be good to see if you can provide actual documentation to if we can edit that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we are actively working on this. So Rakesh is on this call as well. He can tell you a little more if you need help. But the primary reason we are not exposing the content is the content comes from Azure Blob or wherever these contents are stored in the Azure subscription. The end user may not have access to those content to kind of give a direct link. We are working on some first-class experience where we can surface a slightly better looking citation. So to show the end user at least that this is genuine content coming from enterprise data source that you have in Azure AI, rather than the model hallucinating, which is the primary intent of the first phase of what we landed with citation. So we are working on it.
I am delighted to hear that one because this is one I see a lot. And just for anyone who the way that question was phrased used some technical language there. And I'm very aware we've got a range of users across the Copilot Studio platform from low code through to, people. And I'm loving that we're getting people who understand these more technical concepts into the platform too. But as I understand it, essentially what's going on in there is the indexing process is changing what's going on. You're sort of losing your pagination, aren't you, with that? So then when the citation comes back, it's coming back from that version that's been vectorized, been indexed rather than the page. So that's something that I've seen a lot of people asking for. They want that original citation reference.
Yeah, that's a good point, Lisa. So most people are right now in the making phase. They are the ones who do the heavy lifting of creating the index on the Azure side. And then I come and try to test it, and I think I should see it. But they are missing the point that the end users where they make it available, like some of our customers are even hosting it externally as a B2C agent. In those cases, they definitely don't want their users to come into their Azure subscription and see the actual content. So we have to think a little more on how to do it. That's why it's taking some time. But we are aware of this ask. We will fix it. And the question was more about, can I customize it? That's the next phase that will come after we at least get it to a fair quality of what you see. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. I believe we have Arthi online now. So we'll go back to what was the second question. So we're going 1, 3, 2. Early morning brain for me. So Arthi, does Copilot Studio provide functionality for bot-to-bot communication and launching another bot or sub-agent from an orchestration bot that determines intent of message and then routes to the appropriate sub-agent?
Yes, that is in the pipe. I saw it working end to end. We are almost there, getting it in the hands of our customers. We realize that it's a long-awaited key customer ask, and so not only will you be able to hook into agents that you've created within Copilot Studio. But if you have an agent in Foundry that you've created as well, we're working on that bot-to-bot communication. So yeah, we're really excited about the quick progress that the team has made on enabling both the internal bot-to-bot connections as well as the across the Foundry external connections that will be shipping right around the corner.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome. Multi-agent and all the different appropriate frameworks to connect your agents up is a huge ask from our customers. So thank you so much, Afi, for sharing that. So the next question is something that I think many people have heard, and if you haven't heard before, it's a MCP, Model Context Protocol. And so the question is, can you explain what is MCP and how does it work? So Sabine, coming to you to explain a high level, what is it, and then also how are we including that in Copilot Studio?
Sure. So some of it is evident in the name itself. So if you look at Model Context Protocol, what we are essentially saying is MCP is a protocol trying to define or standardize the model, which is the AI models, and the way the models interact with data. Now, the obvious question is, what is the problem that is trying to solve? Why can't the models just talk to the APIs like we are used to? There isn't an inherent problem with models talking to APIs. It does work, but it also fails. So what we have seen in our experience is if you help standardize the way these models talk to to data sources, it is more predictable. There's more context to the model in what to expect and what to invoke at the end. There's less confusion. So the answers are accurate and predictable every single time. And that is the reason it is becoming as popular as it is. So from a Copilot standpoint, we're very happy and proud to announce, and a bunch of people are behind this work. We will enable support, and some of it is already in preview, to consume MCP servers in MCS client. So there is a lot more to this, and we'll explain more as we go. But at a bare minimum, you will be able to integrate MCP servers in Copilot Studio to build your agents. Hope that helps.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sabine.
Jack,
And
Jack.
Zankar has just shared in
Yeah.
the chat as well the blog for you to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, I was going to say Jankar is the PM on MCP, so I think she might be able to add some more color to that.
Yes, thank you. So just plus one to what Sabine said, we're definitely working with several partners, both across Microsoft and outside, who are working on building more and more MCP servers and make them available to Copilot Studio. Once that happens, our makers will have so many more capabilities to connect to external data sources and bring in more and more actions into their agent.
And I'm loving the explanation that's in the chat there as well from Sri as well. The easiest way to think of this is like a charging adapter so that all phones can charge from a universal port. As someone who used to have an iPhone with a lightning charger and still has a couple of devices that use the wrong thing, I totally understand that analogy. That's really useful. All right, I think Bullet from the community is jumping in with the answer for the next one, but let's take this to the product team. So the next question here: can chatbots be put on Power Pages using the Copilot Studio app? And Sri, I believe this is another one for you.
Sri,
sorry, Lisa, I had a glitch here. Can you repeat the question?
So the question is, can chatbots be put on Power Pages using the Copilot Studio app?
Oh, yeah. So when you publish the agents today, the Copilots are available even on public websites that some of our customers are already using it. So Power Pages is just another low-code public website or internal website. You should be able to publish it to those portals.
But when the platform pieces work well with the other platform pieces.
Exactly. It's the same with Power Apps as well, that you can just embed your agent in there. So it's the benefits of using the broader Power Platform, that you can easily plug in your agents into each of your different apps or your automations, etc. as needed. Great. All right. So question 6. Can you explain a little bit more? Well, we've already done the model context protocol,
that one, yeah.
So we we can jump to, I think we've got one question for Jim. So I'm going to scroll up quickly and find it. Okay, Jim, coming to you. What is the difference between an agent created in Copilot Studio and one created in the Copilot Studio agent builder embedded in Microsoft 365 Copilot?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jim. And this is a good question, and I'm hoping one we don't have to answer long into the future. But where we currently stand today is when you work with Agent Builder, what you're building is a prompt and some instructions and some references to knowledge that are stored in a file, a manifest file that is passed to M365 Copilot. At runtime, the M365 Copilot is loading that and using it and running it on its own engine. So you can think of it a little bit like Copilot in costume. Messages don't leave the box. They don't go to Copilot Studio. They're right there when you're in Copilot. In turn, when you go to Copilot Studio, for those who use Power Virtual Agents in the past, the agents that you build in Copilot Studio are built up from that original baseline that was in PVA, now with LLMs and the other AI capabilities, such that a message that you build in Copilot Studio, or the agent in M365 Copilot sends messages to Copilot Studio or from Teams to Copilot Studio, where it is processed by our runtime, executed on your code, and so forth. So they're kind of different technology stacks under the covers. That said, where they use LLMs, we use the same kind of underpinning LLMs from Azure OpenAI. And over time, you'll expect to see that they won't be different. Rather, you'll build an agent in maybe Agent Builder, and then you might open it in Copilot Studio because you want to add a feature that doesn't exist within Agent Builder. It's not that you've changed the agent in some miraculous way under the covers so much as you're just taking advantage of things that need a full canvas to work on, or maybe you want to use analytics where you need to see traffic and so forth. So lots coming there over the next year, and I look forward to sharing that with you soon.
Excellent. Thank you, Jim.
Excellent. I think that seamless story, it's, that you sort of see the pieces being developed from lots of different directions. And I'm looking forward to that point where, as you said, where we don't need to ask that question anymore as well, because I think that agent building experience is great, accessible to people who are just like everyday business users, kind of starting from that point right up through the stack.
Yeah, I think it's that audience part, isn't it? Like the agent builder, it's no code. It's even more low code than Copilot Studio full in the web experience. So anyone can just go put their own custom instructions, grounded in some knowledge, use the same model as Microsoft 365 Copilot. But then if they want to go and build even more advanced capabilities, they just jump into Copilot Studio and add even more knowledge, even more actions, taking actions for you. And so that's where organizations want a little bit more control of that agent as well. So thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
All right, so the next one, we have got someone asking on behalf of the Dutch market, but I think this is really the entire non-English speaking market here. And we know that the multilingual capabilities are something that's very, very important feature of the product. So the question here, and I believe this one is for David, when will generative orchestration be available in Copilot Studio for more languages?
Sure. This is fairly straightforward. We are testing many more language is under the hood right now, and we just need to meet certain quality bars before we're willing to release them out. And Dutch and other languages are kind of imminently coming as soon as, again, we kind of prove that out. So the answer is I can't give you a specific date, but shortly we expect to dramatically increase the number of languages supported in generative orchestration.
Amazing. Thank you, David. And obviously, if you have been using generative orchestration already, it has just gone generally available, so you can use it in production with English languages. So please do start creating your scenarios, seeing how your agents can dynamically decide the best knowledge and the best actions to complete those tasks. So it's very exciting that we're publishing so many features so quickly.
I'm finding that makes a huge difference to what the agent is capable of as well. And, anyone out there building agents, make sure you fill in those description boxes properly, describing all of the things that are going on. Like, here is what this action does. Here is what this knowledge source does, is how you're going to get good results out of that. So the skills of writing good descriptions are now important, whereas they didn't used to be.
Yeah, I'll never forget the world only a couple of years ago where we were creating agents and managing each individual topic and each specific flow and step that you wanted it to take. And now it's connect all of those components up and the orchestration will decide what's best based off that scenario. So super excited innovation on that side. Okay, so question 9, we're going to come to Mai. How are agents priced for Microsoft 365 Copilot license holders?
Sure. So agents created by Copilot Studio can be used by the M365 license holders. And there are certain features that we end up giving as part of that license entitlement. And all of that is related to messages, generative answers, using knowledge, the graph knowledge, as well as the actions when in generative mode.
Perfect. And if you do have any links as well, be sure to publish them in the chat. That'd be amazing. And I guess the second part to that, Maya, without putting you on the spot, where are the differences between when it's M365 Copilot, just kind of consuming your general message packs? Is there any differences to call out there? Oh, you're on mute, Maya. I don't know if you have me or not.
Sorry. Teams was malfunctioning on me. So can you restate that? I'm not sure I'm tracking the question.
Yeah, so we just talked about the licensing for M365 Copilot, just specifically on the second part, which is if I don't have an M365 Copilot license, when do I need licensing? How does that work on that side?
So if you are in the enterprise and you do not have the M365 Copilot license, we recently launched the Copilot for All. And that is the M365 Copilot chat, right? So then as part of that, as long as the Copilot Studio meter is available or the monetization in prepaid packs or pay-go, the unlicensed user will be able to chat with the agent created by MCS and then would get monetized based on the link that I had shared.
Perfect.
So there will be charges for messages, the graph grounding, the autonomous agents, etc.
Right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just a reminder to everyone, I've popped the link in the chat there because I think now what we've got going on is we've got our master question list and we've also got a lot of questions coming through in the chat. We are going to work through the master question list as a, if people are sort of chatting with each other on the side, that's awesome and helping each other answer questions because now you're getting extra value for your time here. But please remember to pop your questions in that aka.ms/Copilot Studio AMAQS. I put the link a little bit up there in the chat and go in and upvote things. You can see we've got the screen share now so that you can see the question list we're working from, and it's dynamically changing. So we're doing our best here to pick the questions off the top of the list. So the next one here is, as an admin, how can I better track makers who are using Copilot Studio to create agents? And Jim, that is one for you.
Yeah, so as far as I believe this was on governance of makers. Yeah, so we've added a number of things around the governance front on Copilot Studio over the last year, and we're pretty proud of that work. In this particular case, one of the most important things is we added auditing and purview. So you can get use your purview license to see all of the traffic made by makers and authenticated users and track based on that, and also integrate Microsoft Sentinel so that you can do triggering and monitoring and so forth. Over the rest of the year, we're also going to be adding inventory to Power Platform Admin Center so that you can get a tenant-wide inventory of your agents. And then finally, audit of unauthenticated users. So it's not just those cases where it's a kind of business to employee scenario, but also a business to consumer scenario where you want to track what those consumers are also accessing. So all in play today. The first parts of that are already in our documentation for audit tracking of end users and makers.
Great. Thank you very much, Jim.
Excellent.
And I think this just presses on how important it is to have the right governance and security controls in place as you start to build out your agents. I think we were sharing that over 400,000 agents have been built in the last quarter alone on Copilot Studio. So it's just continuing to grow.
400,000 in the last quarter. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can see that in our earnings report. I can share that out, but it's the momentum is quite significant. Yeah. Okay. Question 11. How do I change? So this is going to Shri. How do I change the default citation if I don't use conversational boosting or generative answers?
I think we answered this earlier, Jack, that we are investing on the citations to allow customizations. it requires a hack today if you want to do it, but we are working on making it a low-code experience. So more to come.
Perfect. Thank you, Sri, for confirming.
All right, I'm going to pick up the next one, and this has got a lot of detail in it. So if you would like to follow along on the screen here, this is the second question down on the big screen, but we've got it in the chat there as well. So this one, again, is for you, Sri. You're popular with the answers here today. Can you comment on the following use cases? So the first one, if I create an agent in Copilot Studio and publish it through Teams, and someone uses it who doesn't have a Copilot license, what are the billing implications? And then part two of that, if I create an agent in Azure AI Foundry, agent service, and that uses a semantic kernel solution, what are the billing implications? So I'll hand this one over to you, but there are two different ways of paying for these things depending on what you're choosing to use. So Sri, I'll let you handle that one.
Yeah, since Mai is here, I would see if Mai wants to take on this
great.
one. I was just a backup.
Okay.
I can answer question one because that's related to Copilot Studio licensing. So Copilot Studio licensing is for the end user, for use by the end user. We don't license the end user at all, right? So the license in itself for prepaid is at a tenant level capacity. And then the pay-go is whenever anyone uses, that's when the pay-go meter spins. So there is no licensing for the end user, but we charge on the usage by the end user. There is that distinction. And then with regards to the second one, I don't think I have, this one is out of my range here, Lisa.
So I'll just clarify on that first one. So the first one is someone is creating an agent in Copilot Studio and publishing it through Teams, and someone uses it who doesn't have a Copilot license. So my understanding of that is that that's fine. You're paying for it. What you've just said there is you're paying for that at the tenant level, and it's just consuming messages out of your tenant level.
Exactly.
So there are ways of building agents internally here where you don't have to have that Microsoft 365 Copilot license because it's just consuming from that tenant level and you're publishing them internally.
If it is an agent created in MCS and you publish it, you need to have that capacity or the billing capability, right, for that end user to be able to use that. The end user does not have any licensing. The only licensing in that scenario is if they have a Teams license or an Office license to access Teams where that agent has been published.
Thank you. And just for anyone who hasn't heard the acronym MCS, Microsoft Copilot Studio, I'm struggling with this one a little bit because I know that to mean something else in my head. So I've just popped that one in for anyone else who hasn't heard it before. It is a bit of a mouthful. So the second question here, and I'm not sure who can pick this one up. If I create an agent in Azure AI Foundry, agent service, and use that in a semantic kernel solution, what are the billing implications? The short answer here is you're going to be paying for what you use in Azure, but has someone else got a better answer to that one on the Microsoft side?
So Azure Foundry does charge you for meters, right? You will be paying that. The semantic kernel per se, I just pasted in the chat. It's a GitHub open source. You can use it for free. Basically, you have to host it and you have to kind of expose it as an Azure Foundry model or something. You'll be paying the consumption meters on the Foundry side for that one.
Perfect. Thank you, Sri. And there is pricing for each of the different meters online on the Azure website as well. So you can even start to forecast, hey, if I'm expecting this number of traffic, then it could expect to be this price as well. So definitely check that out.
I think we've got with great power comes great responsibility situation. As soon as you start to get into the Azure, you need to know how to calculate what you're consuming there. That's you've got a lot more flexibility, but then you need to understand how you're going to be paying for that.
Definitely. Okay, question 13. So coming to you, David, how should I measure the quality of my agents?
This is a complicated question without an easy answer. Unfortunately, I'll give some kind of high-level guidance, but the particulars really do matter, unfortunately. I always try to go back to what is the agent meant to be doing, and do you have metrics and quality assessments on that? So if it's playing the part of a customer support agent, are you already looking at metrics around how your customer support agents behave, and can you sort of fold your agent's workflow into those same metrics? And that will, again, just give you the best sense that the agent is doing the job that you want it to do, and is doing it well. From there, quality tends to be much more around where can I see what's going wrong and how do I help fix things and how do I continue to improve the performance of my agent. And there's quite a few ways that you can kind of tackle that problem. Human feedback is I would say the gold standard, and we all try to capture as much legitimate feedback from the folks interacting with the agents, and verbatims are fantastic. Explicit feedback of how well it's answering questions or how grounded the sources are, also extremely useful, and will give you a lot of sense for, again, is the agent kind of doing the job fundamentally that it's meant to be doing. And then you kind of have human feedback tends to be the most expensive and challenging to collect. And then you sort of go to less precise and cheaper and easier options. So we use a lot of LLM judges under the hood. So for folks who are, you can actually essentially create an agent to help rate how your agents are doing. And that works. It's actually not quite as far-fetched as it sounds. That does involve some effort to make sure your agent, again, is performing similar jobs to humans who might be rating your AI quality. But that is something that can be very effective, especially if you can't really look at end user data for whatever reason, for data governance or privacy reasons. And then from there, you can always go into much more deeper metrics into how particular parts of the agent are working. So search relevance and retrieval rates tend to be big drivers of quality. So that's something, again, that we tend to immediately go look at. If we're not really seeing how our agent's performing that well, really kind of looking under the hood at which knowledge sources you're using, how good they are at returning results is really effective. And I see, Arthi, you're putting your hand up. Feel free to jump in.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say, to tack onto that, David, there's a couple of key things in the product today. The analytics, which David touched on, is really, really, really helpful, right? That is, like, after you've published your agent, you will start to very quickly be able to understand, where are the clusters of DSATs, where are people abandoning the chatbot, where are they, if you're using a customer service scenario, where are they escalating to an agent, so that you can go in and like David said, like, real users that's like the golden truth of how well your agent is behaving. So those the analytics hub within Copilot Studio is a huge area of investment for us, and tied to directly improving the quality of your agent for the things that matter to the customers that are interacting with your system. In addition, coming soon, before you publish your agent, is the ability to have a native in Copilot Studio evaluation experience. So a lot of the metrics that David was talking about, if you have a small data set or a large data set, that you have pre-labeled, saying, hey, this is the input, this is the expected output, I know this is the right answer. You'll soon be able to easily upload a data set and get evaluation metrics back, and then be able to either like swap a model that you're using or tune a prompt or things like that can give you confidence that for things that that your customers will ask, they're going to get that answer that you want them to see. So certainly things in the product already, and then more that are landing very, very soon, imminently, to help you with that.
Thank you, Austin. And I think, just on the kind of the quality measuring that the agent is doing what it's doing, it's the fundamental part of your project for the agent, is justifying its worth and that it's meeting the ROI and the expectations of what you're trying to achieve. So thank you for talking about all the investments coming. Oh, Lisa, you're on mute.
I was doing well. I've been traveling in the last couple of weeks, and I've got that dreadful sort of dehydrated travel throat. So it's like muting myself there. It didn't come off quite quickly enough. I like David's comment there. Measure a lot and measure often. It's good advice. So our next question here: how can I bring my existing Copilot Studio agent to Microsoft 365 Copilot? And Jim, I believe that's one for you.
Absolutely, and I'm excited about this. Just recently, we added M365 Copilot to the Teams channel in Copilot Studio. So if you have an existing agent, bot, whatever you've created over the years, and you want to see it in the sidebar of M365 Copilot, you can go to the Channels tab, and where it used to just say Teams, it now says Teams and M365 Copilot. open that, hit the checkbox, and republish, and your agent is now available to users in M365 Copilot, modulo however you share or publish to the store and what have you. So it's very exciting. Your existing agents work, including topics, including adaptive cards, and so on. So there's a lot of great value there in putting those agents on that single pane of glass that is available on every desktop where you have Microsoft Copilot. Very shortly, it would also be available in the Copilot chat for customers who have set up pay-go and metered scenarios. So it won't just be limited to people who have the Copilot seat license, but also to the people who are your more free users who are just using the bot on a pay-G basis. So.
And they'll just appear in the list of agents down the side. Is that the
It
experience?
will for the person who deployed it, and then they can put it in the store and share it to other users within their organization as kind of the admin, governance permits.
Okay, I need to drop off and do that right now, but I should keep going. I need to try that. I didn't know you could do that. That sounds great. Thanks, Jim.
Awesome. All right. Question 15. So I noticed websites as knowledge sources can't include query strings. So this is for you, Shri. How do we address that knowledge sources can't include query strings? The search does not seem to cascade down through the levels of the website if the highest level of the site is provided as the source. Would be good to know.
I was hoping you were going to read out that URL, Jack.
I know, I was going to.
Yeah, so in general, if you see, this is basically boiling down to how do I have knowledge source, and now how do I scope it even down further so my agents are much more accurate? Because the biggest problems today we have with all these agents is they know too much, because of which their information that they're giving is too generic. So how do I scope it down is a generic problem that we are trying to solve. So you will see on Dataverse and other places where you're using as knowledge, we will be adding a few more options to filter down the columns, filter down the rows. Similarly, on the website, which the specific question is, we will be adding some natural language filtering capabilities also. It's coming soon. I just don't have a date on when this will land, but that should also be able to address where you can pass some query strings as filtering. Basically, that's what is happening. So that, yeah, I don't have a specific answer on when this will light up, but we are working on giving you that ability so that you can scope it down and get more accurate answers. Basically, that should be the goal here.
So even though the query strings part isn't something that works now, I have actually found that it will read further. It will read data down the hierarchy just from reg. If you just put the top level of the website in, I found it picking up answers. Yeah. So I think in the two parts of that question, the query string, but it doesn't cascade. It actually does cascade down just from if you're not using a query string, if you're just putting the top level of the website in, I found it cascades down. I've seen it go down about 10 levels to find answers in something. It depends how your website's indexed, but I've seen it work. All right, next question here. Can you please explain more about custom agents with the Teams toolkit, especially with Microsoft Graph connectors? Chris, that's one for you.
All right. So, let's see here. Trying to think of the best way to answer that. So, custom agents in Teams toolkit. Teams Toolkit allows you to build agents with Copilot Studio. It uses the older Teams Toolkit, uses the older bot framework. And as soon as you're in there with code, you can connect to the Microsoft Graph. Now, there's a nomenclature problem here, in that Graph connectors in Copilot Studio is not something you would use. It's a different type of connection to the Microsoft Graph, right? When someone says Graph connector from a Teams Toolkit, for example, they're not talking about Power Platform connectors. So that right away has been a source of confusion, I think, for a number of people because the term is overloaded. If you're in Teams Toolkit, just like if you're in the M365 Agents Toolkit, you're writing code and you can connect to the Microsoft Graph endpoint. You get, it's the same OAuth flows you'd use anywhere else. You're just writing code at that point. You can use semantic kernel. As questions earlier alluded to, you can consume all the models and functions from Azure AI and Azure Foundry, and off you go, right? You can do anything from there. You're just in code, and you've got access to the Microsoft Graph. I don't think there's too much more to add to that. If people have specific questions, you can put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer more. But it's a fully code-first solution at that point if you're using Teams Toolkit. So.
Yeah, Chris, just to add to that, right? I wouldn't comment on the Teams toolkit, but if you're using Copilot Studio to build custom agents, you have the option of using existing graph connections that your tenant admin might have set up, or you as a maker can create your own Power Platform connector to the sources that we support. So both options on the table, depending on how your tenant admin has set up or not set up, you can use either one of them to get answers. The Teams toolkit chart is slightly confusing here on the terminology, so we should clarify.
Yeah, there's two different Venn diagrams at play in that question. One is the SaaS infrastructure, and one is the kind of the code first infrastructure. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, question 17 coming to you, Shri. How long can a conversation context be persisted, for example, in an agent built in Copilot Studio?
The short answer is 28 days is what I am told, but I haven't tested it personally myself. I have seen it persist at least for a couple of days or 2-3 days before which I get distracted. But let me know if you see it. But the technical answer is 28 days is what the number is.
What about the number of turns rather than the elapsed time?
I don't think we support a lot of it. I don't know the number of actual number of turns.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Yeah. I don't think we measure and market it. Like as long as it's there for 28 days, we should be able to have that context is what I believe. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We used to limit it to 30, right? You could do 30 different conversations within the same chat session. So I think that's what they're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It used to be a certain number of turns. And I thought there was something about 10 in Copilot Studio. So I think we've all got different numbers kicking around in our heads, but maybe that's not a limitation the way it used to be.
Okay, yeah, that one I'm not familiar. So yeah, we should probably follow up on that one.
That's all right. Sorry to put you on the spot. I thought I was handing you a nice, easy follow-up question. I apologize for that. All right. So the next one here, question 18. How can we develop an agent which also accepts the files from the user during the conversation directly from the chat window? For example, a user tries to submit an expense report and wants to upload the expense PDF to raise the request for approval. The agent validates it and asks for further documents if required. I've heard this one a lot. How do I get let the user upload a document? So Arthi, I believe this is one for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So rich C2 experiences are a critical area of investment for us. That includes, you have the ability today to upload an image, and we use, under the hood image understanding models. GPT-4V, I think, is the latest that it's running to be able to answer a question. So if end user uploads a picture of a car, you can say, what's in this picture? And it'll say, a blue Mercedes CLK or something like that. So pretty state-of-the-art image understanding. We are also working on integrating in enhanced understanding of more complex documents, PDFs, leveraging under the hood code interpreter capabilities, being able to extract data from tables. So for example, you can upload a picture of a pretty complex like medical bill, for example, that might be in a chart format, and be able to ask, okay, how much was this specific procedure? What was the cost of that? Or what is the difference? Be able to ask more than just basic Q&A, but be able to reason over that data for end users. So sorry, C2, that's an internal term. That is the end user of your agent who is like, on your website or something, or using an internal tool to be able to ask questions. So that is really critical, and the state of the art is changing quickly. And that's true, across not only English documents, but we have a lot of cross multilingual use cases for end users to be able to ask questions back and forth on data that might be in any given language, or be able to get that back. So that is something that is actively in the pipe, and we're teeing that up for, I think I can publicly state that some of these experiences will get richer in May.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you so much, Arthi. So I have a quick second part to that question, Arthi, if you're willing to share, which is that we're getting asked as well, can you do voice kind of input while interacting in that chat pane. So could you just start chatting to it while uploading the document as an example of your expenses?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually at last major conference in Chicago in 2024, I think November, we had shown a voice interaction that was pretty seamless. So you're on what we showed is you're on a website that has been voice enabled by Copilot Studio, and you're able to say, like if you're on a hotel website, for example, it's not just being able to ask questions within that little window that you have, but be able to interact multimodal, just as you would ask a human, like, oh, can I order, breakfast from this hotel website? What are the room service hours? Can I book a spa appointment, or, can I book dry cleaning or something like that? It's like really what we want to do is break down the barriers of just interacting within the elements of question, answer. And when we open up multimodality, be able to freeform ask just as you would interacting with a human. So we had previewed that functionality back in November, and the team is continuing to refine and invest it. I don't think that it will be publicly available for at least a couple of more months. There's some refinements that we're looking to make, but that's the vision that we had shown that is working code in a preview already.
Amazing, thank you. So it's only going to get better for those end users wanting to interact with the agent in their style. It's just going to get better and better, which is great. Okay, question 19. So Maya, I know this has been answered in the chat. This is around billing rates and message scenarios. So let me just quickly read it. Is there a way to determine in real time which and how many messages an agent is consuming?
So today we don't have that capability. Our SLA from usage to when it gets shown in the consumption reporting is 24 hours. We typically beat that, but our SLA is that. We are working on a feature, it's on the roadmap, of being able to surface it for the maker to say this is the projected consumption. But in terms of real-time usage, we don't have that today. And I don't know if that capability could even happen because of the complexity, right? Of being able to surface that.
Got it. Thank you, Mai.
Mm-hmm. All right. The next one is one I've heard a lot, actually, and I'm very interested in the answer to this myself. So how can we connect Copilot Studio to a Power BI dataset or workspace, or can we connect it to the database directly? So this one, yeah, I've heard this one a lot. So this one, Sabine, is for you.
Yeah, so we do have Fabric where the Power BI and Azure data lives. We do have that as a knowledge source in a limited preview. But the exciting thing here, what I want to tell people is we're doing work behind the scenes, and you were talking about MCP. So here's a perfect example of Fabric as an MCP server coming soon, right after build. So we are doing work to light that up as part of knowledge, and that should give you everything related to Fabric through that. I haven't tested every single scenario yet, but that should be the short answer.
Perfect, thank you. So just another example to how we're making it even easier to bring your data into agents. MCP is the way forward. Brilliant.
So that was just for anyone who might have forgotten. That's another three-letter acronym. That was the
it's Microsoft
protocol.
To tell that. Yeah, and it's Microsoft
need a
to
bell
tell
every
that
time.
we are putting the MCP servers as well. So yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
just to build
another
on
question.
that, right? Just to build on that, there is a slightly nuance there to say Fabric comes with one lake. It has many different shapes of data, Power BI data sets, as they call it, as semantic models. Then there will be warehouse, lakehouse, and all those things. Instead of trying to go add bespoke sources of Fabric as knowledge, this AI skills are what will be rebranded as data agents, Fabric data agents. You can directly hook your agent to call that Fabric agent. And there you go, another pattern of agent-to-agent communication starting to emerge here. That is all going to be a powerful tool rather than you going and having to add each of these individual data sources. That's the design principle behind of why we are trying to do it that way. So just in case why you're wondering why I can't just do one Power BI data set, right?
Perfect. Thank you, Shri. So question for you, Sabine, how can makers use connectors as knowledge?
Okay, so I'll do the short answer, long answer, and I'll expand on it. The short answer is not today. You can't do it today. And I'll explain why. And more importantly, you can do it pretty soon. So at least the good news is there. If you look at what we lit up recently, is a set of 5 knowledge sources like Salesforce, Zendesk, ServiceNow. Our first set of work will be to complete those 5 sources. So what we gave you is a way to reason over structured data from these sources, which then tells you there is a set of unstructured data, the knowledge articles, the chat transcripts in some of these knowledge sources. So we'll first do work to complete that, and that's coming soon. That also tells you that we are going to light up some other unstructured sources like OneDrive for Business, Confluence, I think a lot of people have asked. And along those lines, we'll line up some more structured data sources like Snowflake, and we're trying very hard to land Databricks too, but I know it's very anticipated. The reason I kind of fashioned it this way is the last part is again more structured data, and more specifically, they are tabular-based data. So think of like Snowflake, Databricks. Some of these are very tabular-based data. Now, we are going to announce a few abilities like an SDK for ISVs and everybody to build tabular-based connectors, which has tabular data. And by build, we will provide an ability at the platform level, wherein when you build these tabular-based connectors, you can just light them up immediately as a knowledge source. So you don't have to do anything at all. But there is a gap today. This is more for the structured one. There's more unstructured work to be done for the unstructured sources. So those will come later. But this at least tells you where we are today. Sorry for the longish answer.
Thank you, Sabine.
That's
I appreciate it.
And I think our next question is a little bit of a follow-up here, which is for Rakesh. What enterprise data sources can be used by agents today? So obviously there are the 5 that we've just heard, but what enterprise data sources can be used by agents today?
Yeah, so obviously the productivity data in like Microsoft Graph, including SharePoint, the Graph connectors. And if you have your line of business system data, whether it's a Dynamics 365 data or your CRM or other related data in Salesforce, ServiceNow, Zendesk, which Sabine mentioned as tabular data sources. Those are all supported. In addition, and if you're using a pro code, if you're in the pro code space, if you have an Azure SQL server instance, or if you have search indexes that are built in Azure AI, you can also bring those also in as knowledge in Copilot Studio. All of these are supported today. It's available in all our regions, so you should be able to test it out. And obviously, in the next few weeks, by build and all, we'll be adding several more of these knowledge sources. So as Sabine was mentioning, some new tabular sources, some new capabilities that are coming to existing sources that we support. That's the question.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rakesh. Okay, so conscious of time, we've got 2 minutes left. I just want to say a quick thank you for you all for joining and spending the time to learn a little bit more about Copilot Studio and getting your questions answered. There you go, wrong way around. But thank you very much for joining. Hopefully this has been useful, and this is the first one that we've done for the Power Platform community as well for Copilot Studio. So if you want to see more and hear the latest from our engineers, as you've heard today, the experts, we'd love to see you again, and we'll definitely promote that on our channel so you can join again. So Lisa, if you want to say any final words.
I feel like I've got a bunch of stuff now that I need to go away and test and try, and a bunch of stuff that I'm looking forward to coming in May by the sound of things. And there are so many questions here of clarification of existing things, but also like, oh, when will we be able to do this? And almost every one of them is like, yes, that's in the pipeline. Yes, that's being worked on. So I think with this technology, there's so much, someone from the outside looking in, I'm seeing so much investment going into improving it, and it's moving very fast. And so, yes, thank you for giving us that insight into things we will be able to do soon, and how fabulous this is going to be. And thank you everyone for your questions. Keep them coming on the channels. And this session has been recorded actually. So if this is too much information to take in one go, or you've got friends who couldn't join live, it will be available to watch on demand later, I believe.
Perfect. And the last thing I'm going to say is many people ask, how do I keep up to date with Copilot Studio? The Copilot Studio blog, we're doing monthly roundups of the latest announcements. So I just put that in the chat. So be sure to check out that to get the to get your next questions answered based off that. And then of course, Microsoft Build as well. We'll be there in May with even more announcements after these kind of alluded to some of the things that we're going to be investing in. So hope to see you all there digitally or in person as well. So thanks again for the time. Hope you have a great rest of the week and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.